following video is for educational and entertainment purposes only.
Hello. You know who it is. Anyway, I want to show you some of the other plants upstairs here and the type of lighting that they all need. This is a wonderful grow light. It has lasted me a very long while, a couple years so far. It's called a Mogul. It's a special light, and this is the daylight version. And it puts light out throughout my whole half of my kitchen. So let's start with the string of dolphins. As you can see, they look like jumping dolphins. And they are succulent, which requires them to dry out almost all the way before you water them. And they need bright, indirect light. You can see all the new growth. They're usually not quite as big right away as they are at the bottom, but they will get larger. So you can see them growing towards the light. And they're doing very healthy. Also down here you can see all the new growth. All the teeny little dolphins are all new growth, and they'll get bigger as they get older. Then if you want to move on to this twisted lipstick plant, which blooms, as you can see, let's see the bloom right here. Some pretty red blooms that come out and they look like lipsticks. Here's some more right here. Aren't they beautiful? Again, this is growing great with this grow light. It does not like to be soggy, but water when it does get dry, about an inch or two down. But like I said, don't make it soggy because they do not like to be overwatered. And I guess let's go with some more hanging plants. This is my burrotail, which blooms, and it's already bloomed, and it's spent the blooms already. But this is new growth down here. Like I said, the new growth is usually not as big as the old growth. Sometimes when you're in a greenhouse, they've got different lighting and different things that they do, and it gets a lot fatter. When you bring it home, when you do have growth, a lot of time it starts small and then it will get bigger. This is a succulent, and it likes to dry out almost all the way before watering it again. Most succulents are like that. In fact, all succulents are like that. They like to dry out almost all the way before you water them again. That way they won't get root rot and they'll grow very healthy. Let's look at this right here, the string of turtles. This I've had for a couple years now, and it's doing great. I've taken cuttings from it, and it's just wonderful. One thing I want to let you know, the way you can tell that it needs to be watered is if you lift up the bottom leaves and you feel the weight of them. If they're real light, it needs to be watered. If it's got some weight to it, like this has some weight to it, it's got enough water for right now. You can do the finger test if you want, but it's so full up here, sometimes it's hard to get your finger in there. So I just do what I call the weight test, just feel how heavy the leaves are. Same thing with this string of hearts. You can tell if it needs water. You can feel with the hearts themselves, if they're thick and puffy, that means they're full of water and they don't need to be watered. As you can see, this thing has grown almost all the way down to the ground. And if you want to do the weight test, you can do it with this also, or you can feel the little hearts at the bottom to see if it needs water. These are starting to get a little thin, so it may need to be watered. But the top ones are really thick and full of water. So it's not ready quite yet to be watered, but I'll water it later on today or tomorrow. This is a variegated one, and I love it. I've had it for a year or two, maybe longer, and it started out to where it was only this long, and it's grown all the way to the ground now. And then we have the string of pearls. This string of pearls is doing very well. Sometimes the little brown things, the sun This one has burnt part of this. Oh, I see it now. But that'll all be fine. It'll grow back. And it's also a succulent and likes to be watered when it's dry. And this is not dry because the pearls are very heavy and you can feel the weight of them instead of being light and airy. Goodness, where do we go next? Actually, this is 2 propagations of my string of hearts. One here and one here. If you can get closer, Howard, and see these little teeny little hearts that are coming up, I've got perlite at the bottom and sphagnum on top. And you can see it's rooting because of the new growths. See the new growth there and there and there. Now this one was a newer one and has not started any growth yet, but I'm sure it will. I have faith in it. And then we have a brandy philodendron, which I have a moss pole on because it likes to grow up the moss pole for support. And again, this needs to be watered when it's almost dry, but not too wet. Over here, we have a Prince of Orange, which is a philodendron, and it likes to dry out in between almost all the way. Don't make it soggy or else it will get yellow tips. This thing got a little overwatered last time, but the leaves are still strong and healthy, so I have faith it will be fine. And here we have a Hoya Wayetta. A Hoya Wayetta, I believe. In fact, here's the name of it right here. If you can pronounce it, you're doing better than I am. I've had this also for a very long while, and it had no trailing at all. It was just a little bit on the top, but it's doing very well now. And it likes bright, indirect sun, and it also likes to dry out almost all the way before watering it again. Here we have a silver dragon tongue. Dragon breath, I believe it is. But this is also a alocasia, and they like to be almost dry before they get watered again. Most plants don't like to be overwatered because they're susceptible to root rot. And then here we have a little mini neon pixie. And the brown stuff on top, if you see it on my plants, is cinnamon to prevent fungus gnats. You put a little on the soil and a little bit on the top of the plants. It prevents gnats for a good while. You want to go to the shelves. Here we have a lemon lime plant that's doing very well. It's beautiful. Again, it likes to dry out almost all the way, and it likes bright, indirect sun. And this is an arrow plant, which is also doing very well. Needs to be watered right now, but I can get that when I'm done videoing. And this is a, let me see, I can't pronounce it, but I can certainly show you. It's a Hoya, Macrophylla Hoya, I believe. And this also likes the bright light. And it's, all this is new growth on here. All this is new growth. It was just this little bit when I bought it. This is some of that brandy. I have to support this brandy a little bit better. And then we have a black margin Hoya. If I can get it out of here. Oh, it's drawn all the way over there. Let me show you. This is all new growth. All it was this. The center part wasn't there. These vines weren't there. This was just a 4-inch solid plant. As you see, it's grown quite nicely in this window. And a jade plant. The last video I had, I repotted this jade plant, and it seems to be doing better. And a leaf fell off. So in a future video, I'm going to show you some propagation, not only with the jade leaf, but with other plants. Let's move up to here. We have a Kerry Hoya, which looks just like a heart. Hoyas like to be dry almost all the way before they get watered. And these two here, the blue and the red, they're called cactus gems. I thought they were not real because they were so beautiful, but this blue one fell out of the pot one day and it's solid roots. So they are both real. And this one's grown somewhat for me already, and I've had this about a year. This one I just got maybe about 2 months ago. And then we have over here, this is called a coral cactus. Like a cactus, it likes to dry out and be dry most of the time. Next to it, we have what's called ET fingers, or golem succulent. They look like ET fingers, and they like to be dry more than wet. They are a cactus. Now let's see where else we can move. Over to the shelves here maybe. There's a pink signonia that I love. It likes semi-shade to shade, and it likes to be almost dry all the way before watering it. Here we have a red flapjack paddle plant. It's doing very well. I had to move it away from the sun in the window because it was getting spots on it. See the markings from the sun? It got a little burnt. But I moved it over here and it'll do fine now. And this is a cherry mint begonia, which is beautiful. And I've taken cuttings from this, which are easy enough. You take stem cuttings, and I'll show you that later. And then we have a snow white waffle plant. What I do here, since it gets brittle sometimes, is I have it sitting in a pot. There's a container with a hole in it that you put the wick in, and it absorbs the water when it needs water. That way it keeps it evenly moist, and it's still very healthy that way, and you don't have to worry about it getting crispy and stuff like that. This is the black waffle plant. The same as this, but it's a sister. It's a black one instead of the snow one. This is a Rex begonia, and it likes to be evenly moist and semi-shade. Then we have the Dracaena. What's the name of this one? This one is a Camille, and it does like medium light, and I have it with the wick system again, with the container underneath full of water that wicks up to when the plant needs the water, it can get it. Now, if we can move over to here and see some of these here, you can see the type of lighting. I have my ZZ plant here, which gets pretty much good light from the sun lamp, or the grow light, I should say. And it likes to dry out almost all the way before you water it. The same with this rainbow peperonia. It's beautiful. It started out as a 4-inch pot. It's now in this big pot here and doing very well. This is a zebra plant, which has a, what do they call that, a track to come up. It's a flower bud. They like to dry out almost all the way before watering, and the same with the green apple Congo, the apple Congo. That likes to dry out. It's a philodendron, and it likes to dry out almost all the way before watering. Here is a Albo Signomia, which is a rare plant, and they're beautiful. As you can see, it's doing very well. It's got new growth at the bottom, and these are all new leaves. Let's move on to my newest plant. This is called an Albo Monstera. It's still rooting in sphagnum moss. You keep it moist so the roots will still grow. And here is the new frond that's coming up. It's going to be all white instead of variegated. So when this opens up, I'll be sure to show you them. And we have a wax variegated peperonia down here. And most of them like to dry out before watering again. Here we have a Ramosa begonia, which is a beautiful plant. You don't want to get the leaves wet. Sometimes when you get them wet, they deteriorate like that. I have it in orchid bark and potting soil, and it likes to dry out before you water it. This is a Chinese evergreen, Agnomia, and it is doing wonderful. Again, it was in a 4-inch pot, and now it's in an 8-inch. We have a Florida green philodendron, and it likes to dry out almost all the way before watering it. And it's got a lot of new growth on it. As you can see, it's got a lot of new growth. Then there's the black velvet Alaska, Alocasia, I should say. It likes bright and direct light and allow to dry in between waterings. And there we have the Birkin, Philadelphia Birkin philodendron, I should say. It likes to dry out almost all the way, again, before watering. Here we have the Diversa Dragon Tail, which I'm thinking I may have to put it in a bigger pot to get a support pole, because this should be supported up and it will grow upwards. But as it is right now, it's doing very well. And the last one up here is a Ardesson Monstera. It's a Swiss cheese, as they call them, Swiss cheese, and it's growing very well. I've taken several cuttings off of that, and it also needs to dry out in between waterings. Thank you for your time, and I hope you've enjoyed everything.